Hey guys, welcome to 2026. This is True Crime with Tiff Klein. I have taken a hiatus for a while. I was visiting family for the holidays. I didn't have my equipment, so I couldn't record anything. But I do thank you for tuning into the ones I have posted. The most recent one was with Danny After Dark, that she actually had me on her show, but I converted it into a file to put on mine. She will be joining me on my podcast soon, so stay tuned for that. And if you haven't, follow her on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Danny After Dark. She has a true crime book club. She reads a lot of books and will go live on YouTube and talks about awesome things with true crime. And she's just an awesome person. And she will be at CrimeCon in Vegas. So she is awesome. That's my girl. So shout out to Danny After Dark. But yes, so I have a lot to catch up on in the true crime world. But today, January 3rd, I wanted to kick off the year with a local case. If you were in the Scranton-Wilkes-Barre area, there is a girl that went missing. She was originally from Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, and she went to New York, never came home. So I wanted to dive into that. I know it made headlines back when this happened in 2017. 2016, it kind of faded off, and her mother is still trying to get answers and still trying to bring Corinna home. So if you're not familiar, again, her name is Corinna Slusser. She's from Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. And today's story, again, she's a young woman who slipped through every crack a system can have. A girl who wanted love, stability, and a fresh start, and instead found herself pulled into the darkest corners of exploitation. Her name is Corinna Paige Slusser, and she has been missing since 2017. Her case is a heartbreaking example of how vulnerable young women are targeted, groomed, and trafficked, and how quickly a life can unravel with the wrong people who step in at the wrong time. And you know, sex trafficking is huge in our country. Right here where I live, it's bad. I don't even go to the department store Gabe's anymore where I live because it's constantly going on in that parking lot. So it's just horrendous. So I wanted to shine light on Corinna Slusser from Bloomsburg, a beautiful blonde, blue-eyed beauty who was a cheerleader in high school and unfortunately found herself into sex trafficking. Corinna was born on October 6th, 1998, in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. She grew up like so many girls in a small town, America, active, social, full of potential. From 2013 to 2016, she attended Central Columbia High School and later Bloomsburg Area High School. She ran track, she cheered, she had friends, she blended in. But her senior year, something shifted. Now, if you're not familiar with Bloomsburg, I'll put it in perspective for you. It's about 45 minutes from Wilkes-Barre. It's not too far out of Luzerne County, but it is in Columbia County, and it's considered Northeast PA. Most of you will see people from Northeast PA describe it as NEPA, NEPA online. So if you ever see me post NEPA, it means Northeastern PA. So let's get to it on the cold case of Corinna Slusser. Corinna begins her senior year in September 2016. But she's not the same girl. She quits track and cheerleading. Her grades slip, she starts hanging with a new crowd, and the tension at home with her mother, Sabina, grows heavier. A month later, just 1 week before her 18th birthday, Corinna and a friend are arrested for shoplifting at a dollar store. It's a small crime, but it makes the beginning of a downward spiral. From October 2016 to January 2017, Corinna is skipping school, drinking, smoking, and drifting. She eventually drops out and enrolls in an online charter school, but she never attends and she never earns her diploma. And then, on January 3rd, she posts something heartbreaking. I'm sorry, I'm taken back by that date because this is the date that I decided to do this podcast about her, and I didn't realize January 3rd was a specific date, and today is January 3rd. And if you know me, you know I can dream things that happen, and I have some clairvoyant abilities. So that is very, wow. All right, sorry. On January 3rd, 2017, she posts something heartbreaking, a screenshot of text that she sent her mother that says, "I need things to change. I need to be happy. I hate myself, and I need to teach myself to love me and you. I don't want to be your disappointment. I need you, mommy. The suicide attempt. In April 2017, Corinna attempts to take her own life by swallowing 50 Tylenol pills. A friend calls her mother, Sabina, who rushes to the hospital. Corinna is transferred to the ICU. Her liver was failing, and doctors were warning her mom that she may need a transplant. She survives, but she spends 3 days in a psychiatric unit. And while she's there, a friend later tells investigators that Corinna was texting, quote, a guy from New York. This is the first sign of the man, or men, who would soon pull her into the world of trafficking. By June 2017, the move toward danger, Corinna moves out and stays with a friend in Hazleton, Pennsylvania, in Luzerne County. She works at Applebee's, and she's just trying to start her life over. But in August, she abruptly leaves that home too. Her roommate claims Corinna owes rent and refused to return her clothes until she paid. But another friend says a man came to pick Corinna up and told the roommate she wouldn't need her clothes anyway. On August 2007, Corinna posts on Facebook that she's in Brooklyn, New York City, and her mother texts her confused. Corinna insists she's just visiting, but she wasn't. By late August, Corinna is involved in the sex trade in New York City. She tells her mother she's working in payroll and looking for an apartment, but the truth is far darker. On August 20th, Corinna is assaulted at the Harlem Vista Hotel by, pardon my pronunciation, I'm not sure this is how you say it, Yohavani Perego, a 32-year-old with a long criminal history, including sex trafficking and promoting prostitution. According to police documents, he stole $300 from her. When she confronted him, he allegedly grabbed her by the neck, slammed her against a wall, and choked her. Corinna called 911. She was taken to the hospital, and Peguero is arrested 3 days later, and a judge issues a 6-month order of protection, restraining order, PFA, whatever your state recognizes that as. In early September, Corinna meets Ishi Wani, a 21-year-old aspiring rapper who will be later arrested for trafficking her and another woman. Between September 10th and September 20th of 2017, Corinna and Wani exchange 806 text messages. This is grooming, this is control, and this is trafficking. On September 7th, Corinna posts of her new apartment in the Bronx. She says, "Never been more happier in my life. Forever dream accomplished." 2 days later, she updates her profile pictures for the last time. On September 10th, she posts a photo of someone smoking, but it's unclear if it's Corinna, and it's the last thing she ever posts. By mid-September of 2017, Corinna stops responding to family. Her aunt texts her worried. Corinna lies, saying the man who hurt her is in jail, even though she's still seeing him and messaging him. On October 19th, the NYPD emails Corinna that says, "Your family has reported you missing. Are you okay?" Corinna never replies, but on October 29th, Wani messages her, "Hey, I miss you. Can you just hit me up and let me know if you're okay?" And Corinna never responds. This is where the case becomes even more disturbing, even more heartbreaking for Sabina, her mother. This is going to break down the timelines of 2018 to 2021. April 2018, the extortion attempt. Sabina receives a message from someone claiming they have Corinna. They demand $7,500 and instruct her to meet them in the parking lot of a woman's hospital in Greensboro, North Carolina. Sabina tries to wire the money, but the transfer fails. The NYPD warns her it could be a scam, and she almost goes anyway. She almost drives to North Carolina alone. The next day, the person messages her and says, "Remember this day, though April 17th, Tuesday, 2018, because it's the day you almost got her." It's one of the cruelest moments in the entire case. By spring 2018, the anonymous letter arrived. Sabina receives a handwritten letter from a man calling himself Carlos C. He claims he saw Corinna on September 2017 around 8:30 near 67th Road in Queens. He says the woman, who he believed was Corinna, was chasing his friend, yelling that she was going to sue him. He names the friend, but when investigators try to contact him, he had vanished. In spring 2018, the FBI formally gets involved and joins the investigation. They raid Corinna's room in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. They take personal items. They take a DNA sample from her mother, Sabina, and in case Corinna's remains were ever found, they have her mom's DNA. They tell Sabina that Corinna's phone last pinged in Jamaica, Queens, New York. February 26, 2018, Ishiwani is arrested in New Jersey for drugs and for assaulting another woman he trafficked. May of 2018, Peguero and Marcus McWright are charged with promoting prostitution. Investigators tell Sabina that McWright posted online sex ads for Corinna. October 31st, 2018, Woney is federally charged with sex trafficking Corinna and another victim, the FBI states. He used both this victim and Corinna Slusser in online advertisements promoting prostitution. November 28th, 2018, Woney is sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. In court, Sabina begs him to tell her where Corinna is. He looks at her and he says, "I don't know where your daughter is. I don't know if she's dead or alive, but I'm praying that she is." 2019, Sabina, Corinna's mother, fights back. She writes to the White House desperate for help. She receives a response saying her letter was forwarded to the appropriate agency. The FBI later apologizes for not returning her calls. In spring of 2019, Sabina buys a phone and connects it to Corinna's number. All of Corinna's photos, apps, and emails load, but not her texts or call logs. They are completely gone. The FBI takes the phone for 2 months and they return it without explanation. Don't forget to tune in to Danny After Dark. She goes live on YouTube to discuss the book of the month that she chooses. Now, I read a lot of true crime books. Some of my favorites are Where Are They Buried? Where Did They Die? Some of the John Benet Ramsey books. I just finished reading Nobody's Girl about Virginia Jeffrey, Devil at His Elbow about Alec Murdoch, and I'm currently reading Bloodstain on Their Hands by Mandy Matney. So those are what I'm currently up to speed on, but I have a lot of true crime books, but Danny After Dark has me beat. So again, you can follow her on Facebook, you can follow her on TikTok and Instagram, Danny After Dark, and she will be at CrimeCon in Vegas. So you can't miss her online. She has a black and purple background and a cartoon character of herself holding a book. She is awesome, she's sweet, and she knows a thing or two about true crime. All right, back to the Corinna Slusser disappearance. In 2020, January 15th of 2020, Sabina confronts Peguero in court. He tells her he thinks Corinna is alive, exploring New York City. He denies ever attacking her, but in February of 2020, McWright is convicted of promoting prostitution. He is released a month later, likely due to COVID. And fast forward to June 4th, 2021, Peguero is arrested again, this time for selling crack cocaine near Times Square. October 25th, 2021, he is sentenced to 2 to 5 years in state prison. And November 13th, 2021, Corinna's social media accounts show activity, but her mother insists she did not access them. So who did? Someone with her password, someone with her phone, or did Corinna do it herself? And this kind of reminds me of the case about Amy Bradley, who went missing on that cruise ship and that was sex trafficked in Aruba. And people said every year on the anniversary of her date that she was taken or murdered, there's a lot of activity looking at pictures of her on a website. And they, to this day, have not found her, but that's kind of what it reminded me of. So, again, Corinna was 19 years old. She was a teenager. She was a daughter. And she was a girl who wanted to be loved. She wanted a fresh start. who wanted to feel like she mattered. Instead, she was targeted by predators who knew exactly how to exploit her vulnerabilities. Her story is not an anomaly, it's a pattern we see again and again in sex trafficking of cases across the country. And until we talk about it loudly, consistently, unapologetically, more girls like Corinna will disappear into the same shadows. If you know anything about the disappearance of Corinna Paige Slusser, please contact the NYPD or your local authorities. Now, there is a lot of information online. Like I said, Corinna went missing in 2017, and her case did make headlines, but it has quieted down quite a bit. But there is a website I found a lot of this information on, and it was ABC 7 News, I believe. And that's where I got a lot of the information because it was featured on the show Missing. And it's really impactful. I feel horrible. She was such a pretty girl, and I'm sure she didn't want to wind up where she was. So, there's a lot of information in the timelines, and, you know, there was an update in 2024 that there were rumors of remains that were found. One search result claimed that remains were found in Pennsylvania in 2024 and identified as Corinna's, but the source is not a major news outlet and it may not be reliable. So, no major law enforcement agency or credible national news source has confirmed this. As of the most credible reporting available in your search, Corinna is still officially missing. That's what I got. Theories about what happened. She was moved through trafficking circuits. Traffickers often move victims between cities to avoid detection, so Corinna may have been transported out of New York City quickly. She was harmed by a trafficker. Given the violence associated with Woney and others in his circle, foul play is a strong possibility. She may have been held against her will. ABC 7's investigative report described her as a sex trafficked hostage. And there is a theory that she could still be alive. Her mother has held onto this hope, especially after the 2021 Facebook activity. The evidence, the leads, and the digital footprints, they have the phone data. Her phone activity stopped abruptly after September 20th. There was a strange activity on her Facebook account that we mentioned in 2021, years after she vanished. This raised hope, but investigators could not confirm whether it was Corinna or someone else accessing her account. Witness reports claimed to see her leaving the motel early that morning, but no confirmed sightings had followed. In 2018, the FBI arrested Ishi Woney, a known trafficker, and they did charge him with sex trafficking, transportation for prostitution, sexual exploitation of a minor, and he was directly linked to Corinna's exploitation. And Corinna's mother believes her daughter was sold from one pimp to another, a tragically common pattern in trafficking cases. The last time Corinna was seen, again, was September 20th, 2017, leaving the Haven Motel in Rego Park, Queens, an area known for prostitution and drug activity. Her phone last pinged in Jamaica, Queens around the same time, and she was reportedly messaging a man who was supposed to pick her up that morning, but after that, she vanished. This is a story of vulnerability, trafficking, system failure, and a young woman who deserved protection, and it didn't happen. And regardless of what had happened or is still happening to Corinna, we really need to raise a lot of awareness on this sex trafficking. I had this really weird experience one time, and I was in a store about 2 years ago, maybe 3, and it was in the plaza that I said earlier in this episode. I was in Big Lots, and I was in an aisle all by myself looking at kitchenware, and this man approached me out of nowhere and got really close to me and stood like right next to me and started asking me all these personal questions. And my radar went off. I'm not dumb. And, he was asking me, where I was from and what I do for a living and where I worked. And I was not giving him information. And I was kind of trying to keep it small talk and trying to like brush him off. And I kept pretending somebody was texting me. And then I pretended I had to call somebody. And then he still stood there and waited for me to get off the phone. I left my cart. I walked away to another aisle, and there he was. So I just left my cart. I walked up to the person at the front desk, and I said, "This person is very shady and uncomfortable, and I'm just wanting to raise awareness to you guys and report that because I know what this plaza is known for. So I left, but I had this, I remember him telling me that he left his wife in another country and he came up here, and he runs a club and he brings people back to his country that are from there originally. I don't know. It was a few years ago, but like that was red flag sex trafficking, like hardcore 100%. And a few weeks later, there were people arrested in that parking lot for that. So, I was approached and I was scared out of my mind. So, it seemed as somebody promised her the world, lied to her, and she fell victim to sex trafficking. And I do hope she's alive. I hope her mother gets her to come home or at least get some closure answers. And we know in these types of cases, there's never closure unless they come back alive. But it would be great if she was, or her mother could at least bring her home in other form. But it's heartbreaking. But you can research her again. She was all over the internet. I believe she was on Dateline at one point, and she's all over TikTok, and she's beautiful. She was absolutely gorgeous, and I just feel horrible, and especially because this is so close to home, and it wasn't that long ago. You can search her on NBC News. There was an article that says 19-year-old Corinna Slusser was last seen in the early mornings of September 20th, 2017 at the Haven Motel in Queens, New York, but she is originally from Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. She has not contacted her family since September 20th, 2017. She has not contacted her friends. She has not posted on her previously active social media accounts. There have been a few leads generated after her disappearance, but the series of events preceding her disappearance, however, paint a much clearer picture. Her aunt said, Corinna has come and spent with me every summer. We've always had a close relationship. Her name's Julie Ann Becker Kalfa told Dateline. Julie is Corinna's maternal uncle's ex-wife, but was part of the family for 20 years and has stayed close with Corinna since the divorce. She was here in Massachusetts, Julie said. She was with me in the summer of 2016, but in August, she went home. Winter of 2016, Corinna was a senior in high school and was living with her mom, Sabina, in Bloomsburg. Julie told Dateline the mom and daughter often fought, though, so Corinna asked if she could move in and live with Julie. According to Julie, both she and Sabina agreed that the move would happen during Corinna's winter break from school. The plans were halted through after Julie says she discovered some unnerving information about Corinna's last trip to see her. She says, before she came and moved in, my sons told me Corinna had gotten up to no good. Without me knowing it, I was going to be away for 2 weeks in December, so I told Corinna and Sabina she wasn't allowed to move in until January when I got home, and they were both really upset. Corinna ended up never moving in with Julie and instead started living with a friend in a nearby Pennsylvania town that spring. According to Julie, just as Corinna was set to finish high school, she contacted her mom and said she had met someone who would give her a place to stay in New York City. Sabina didn't want her to go, Julie said, but she was over 18, and the next day, Sabina got a phone call from the person Corinna had been living with during the spring saying she needed to come get Corinna's stuff. Corinna had left for New York with just her phone, ID, and the clothes on her back. She left her makeup, her clothes, and all of her personal belongings behind. She also left high school behind. And she was just one class shy of graduating. She did, however, stay in contact with her friends and family in Pennsylvania. But from that point on, for the next month or so, she was in New York. But she was in contact with her mom and her friends almost every day. Julie said she seemed to be doing fine. Then in August, according to Julie, Corinna's mom, Sabina, got a letter in the mail from the New York Police Department, and it was addressed to Corinna. It was a copy of a letter of protection notifying her that the attacker was incarcerated. She said Sabina freaked out and called the NYPD and asked what's going on. But the order of protection provided to Dateline by Julie named a 32-year-old Yohavani Peguero as the defendant. The Manhattan District's Attorney Office provided Dateline with a complaint for Yohavani's corresponding arrest. It states the attack occurred on August 25th around 1 o'clock in Harlem, New York. He was charged with various assault and harassment charges, including assault in the third degree and criminal obstruction of breathing or blood circulation. This goes back to what I said earlier about how he allegedly choked her. The complaint states that the alleged victim was crying, shaking, and speaking at a fast pace as she told the responding officer about the attack. The victim stated the defendant placed his hand around her neck and slammed her against the wall, making it difficult for her to breathe and causing substantial pain to her neck. A temporary order of protection was put in place, but when Sabina spoke to Corinna about the incident, Julia said Corinna downplayed it, which most abuse victims do. The family was worried and started looking through Corinna's social media pages with the hope of gathering clues as to what she was doing in New York. Julie says the reality was immediately obvious to her. I called Sabina and said, "Oh my God, she's prostituting." Julie told Dateline 1 and 1 was making 2. Everything was coming together, and if you were to scroll through her Facebook, it was like an advertisement. Julie contacted her niece and expressed her concern. She said, "I know somebody hurt you," Julie told Dateline. But that was it. That was the last communication that I had with her. Now, again, all of that just came from NBCnews.com/feature/missing in America/Pennsylvania teen Corinna Slusser. All that information is on there. I was just reading it verbatim from her aunt because there was a lot. So it seemed like her aunt wasn't clueless, and it was all over her social media that she was basically advertising herself. But I don't think she was the one doing it. I was probably the guys who trafficked her. So in the fall of 2017, Corinna's maternal grandfather died in the beginning of September. And Julie says Sabina called her daughter and told her she had to go to Florida for the funeral. Corinna agreed to go, apparently, but then the next day came a phone call with more bad news. Corinna called her mom and said her license and social security card had been stolen, so she couldn't board a flight. This was probably the traffickers' way of stealing her identity so she could not escape. Julie told Dateline that she said she wanted to come home to Pennsylvania and that she'd be home the next day. Sabina left Pennsylvania for the funeral in Florida before Corinna was expected to arrive home that day, and Julie says Sabina told her she kept trying to contact Corinna to make sure she's gotten in safely, but a week went by and Sabina still couldn't get a hold of Corinna from Florida. Julie says that upon Sabina's return, she reported Corinna as missing to the Montour Township Police Department. Dateline was unable to reach the Montour Police Department to confirm this at that time. Although friends and family report her last hearing from Corinna on September 9th, a press release from the NYPD says Corinna was last seen in the early morning of September 20th, 2017 at the Haven Motel in Queens, New York. There's a lot to unpack with this case. Despite allegedly one of thousands, Corinna doesn't fit the stereotype, Julie says of her niece. Unfortunately, Corinna is a textbook case of the trafficking epidemic, and she is one of thousands in New York City. People may be envisioning runaways and drug addicts, and that's not Corinna, she said. She was a cheerleader for a team called the Cornhuskers. She came from a rural Pennsylvania town, and she was looking for a more exciting life. And I think that's why she went to New York City. I know Corinna had no idea what she was getting herself into, her aunt told Dateline. The NYPD describes Corinna as having blonde hair and blue eyes. She weighs approximately 140 pounds and is about 5'7" tall. She also has a large black flower-type tattoo in the middle of her chest that kind of resembles a lotus. Anyone with information regarding Corinna Slusser is asked to call the NYPD's Crime Stoppers hotline at 1-800-577-TIPS, or for Spanish, 1-888-57-PISTA. The public can also submit their tips by logging on to Crime Stoppers' website at www.nypdcrimestoppers.com. They can also text their tips to 274-637. Text the word crimes to 274-637 and then enter tip 577. All calls are strictly confidential. That is the story of the cold case of Corinna Slusser from Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. Sex trafficked, hasn't been heard or seen since September 20th, 2017. And I really just wanted to raise awareness on this case because there is a lot to it. And because sex trafficking is so bad in America and other countries, and especially right now in 2026. It's constantly in the news, and like I said, I know it happens where I live. I was approached, and thank God I used my smarts because I have really good intuition, and that could have been me. That could have been you. It could have been anybody because these people are good at what they do, and I don't fall quick to manipulation after dating narcissists. You kinda read through their bullshit, and you can smell them a mile away, so thank God I have the street smarts. I didn't 20 years ago, and unfortunately, I had to live through abuse and narcissism and manipulation and gaslighting, but I came out the other side, and now I can recognize it and help other people. But if you look her up, I mean, she was absolutely stunning, and she was so young, so young, and it just hits close to home, no pun intended, and she was bright, she loved the beach, and she dreamt of becoming a makeup artist, and she was known for her smile, her creativity, and her desire for independence. But like so many young women who fall prey to traffickers, Karina's vulnerabilities, family conflict, desire for belonging, and a need for stability were exploited by the wrong people at the worst possible time. This was the disappearance of Corinna Slusser, a story of vulnerability, trafficking, system failure, and a young woman who deserved protection. Please research Corinna Slusser. Please share her missing files. Please share her missing flyers. Please share her stories on social. It takes 1 second to post because you don't know who it's going to reach and who it's going to bring home or whose life it's going to save or whose family it's going to give answers to. It takes a second. So I'm asking you on January 3rd, 2026, to look this case up and share information. I have a lot in store for 2026. I just opened my new swag shop at the Fourth Wall. You can buy shirts and hoodies and beanies and cups and everything your little heart desires and stickers, and it's just exciting. So if you go to the Fourth Wall, let me actually bring this up because, my dumbass doesn't save things on my desktop like everybody else. Hold on. Sorry. All right. The website is True Crime Tiff Klein. That's True Crime Tiff Klein, KLINE, -shopwall.com. And you will see an orange and yellow page, and you can buy stickers and t-shirts and mugs and buttons and all your little true crime collectibles. And if you see me at CrimeCon, because I will be there, I won't have a booth because I want to go and actually get the full experience. Maybe one day I'll have a booth there, but again, I'm going with my mom this year, so I kind of want to just have the whole experience. But I will have some of my own swag. And if you pass me and you like and share my stuff and you reach out or whatever it is that you want to do to support my podcast, you may just get some swag from True Crime Tiff Klein at CrimeCon. I'm not going to have a lot, but I'm going to bring some because I have to fly stuff out there and it gets expensive. So. And again, it's True Crime Tiff Klein -shop.fourthwall.com. You can buy swag if you don't want to wait until CrimeCon. And I might do some giveaways on my Facebook and TikTok. So make sure you're following me on TikTok at True Crime Tiff Klein. You can follow me on Instagram at truecrime_Tiff Klein. And you can find me on Facebook under Tiff Klein, or you can follow my Facebook page, True Crime with Tiff Klein. And you will see a redhead with black frame glasses and green eyes holding a coffee cup and a book. And that is my logo. And it says, giving criminals the disrespect they deserve. So that's my page. I have everything up and going. I'm so excited. And I have a lot of people wanting to be on my podcast this year now that I have some experience and I'm up and going. And now I know how to do it all. And it's been so much fun. I think I hit 1,100 downloads, which is pretty cool. Like, I was happy to get one. So I use Buzzsprout so I can see where everyone's listening from and how many plays I get from certain devices and locations. And it's really cool. And I had to learn it all. So it didn't come easy overnight. But so far, I have a lineup. And if you get on my Facebook page, you'll see this. But I'm doing the deep dive into the one I just did, Corinna Slusser. I'm going to do another deep dive into Lee Van Lovender from Tunkhannock, Pennsylvania. That's a cold case. A cold case of Tiffany Valiante from Mays Landing. That one kind of reminds me of the Ellen Greenberg case, where they said that she committed suicide, but all signs point to homicide. And this case is kind of like that. And I'm trying to get the attention out there. I tagged Joseph Scott Morgan. He's my favorite. Nancy Grace, she's my favorite. I tagged them both today because I know how invested they were with Alan Greenberg, but this family's fighting the same thing. They wanted it to be switched from suicide to unknown so they can open the case back up, and medical examiners didn't switch that. So they're still fighting that. They believe it's a homicide, but that will be in one of my next few episodes. It's really twisted. Again, it's the Tiffany Valiante case. She's from Mays Landing, New Jersey. I will also be interviewing Anna Soley from the Kitchen Table Research Podcast and Megan Nicole. She's the president and founder at the Silver Lining of Hope, Inc. Lauren Samples, Paradise After Dark, Missing and Unsolved podcast. You can follow all of them on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram. And my girl Danny After Dark. Again, you can follow her on all social platforms. And I will also be interviewing Jen Tobias from the Wildlife CSI Academy that Cheryl McCollum helps with. I sponsored their event back in October in Lake Tobias, and I sponsored an officer. And I really wish I could have went, but I didn't have any time off from work left, so I couldn't go, but I did sponsor it, and I have a few more people in the pot that asked to be on it, and it's just going to keep going the rest of the year. And these are in no specific order, just whenever the timing works out, but I'm going to continuously add to this list, so stay tuned for more to come. But that's what I have lined up so far. I'm hoping this year, which would be fantastic, I would love to interview Joseph Scott Morgan, Nicole, and Jemmy. I would love to get Gabby Petito's parents on mine for a change instead of me on theirs or their interviews. I would love to talk to them on my podcast. And because I'm friends with them, I might be able to pull some things, but they're always so busy traveling. So I don't know if that will work out. Lots of people. Murder on a Bookshelf podcast. I want to talk to her. And I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of you at CrimeCon. I have made a lot of friends since Denver, and you all have followed me since and added me and support my page, and it means the world to me. And I know I don't know a lot of you in person, but I feel like we're just family. And I always say that CrimeCon reminds me of summer camp, and I feel like I'm going to have friends for life. And you guys are all so just heartfelt people and genuine and compassionate. And, that's why Nancy Grace always appreciates when we go to CrimeCon and support victims and families, because we are passionate. We want justice just like they do. And we're a community, and it's awesome. And I'm happy to be a part of it. And I just hope to grow and meet more of you and talk to more of you, and send me your stories, send me your cold cases, send me these cases that need to be put in the spotlight. There's hundreds of them that get the same attention over and over and over, but there's millions of missing people, millions of cold cases, millions of crime stories, and we have voices. So why not talk about them? It takes 1 second to share a missing persons flyer. It takes 1 second to share a story. It takes 1 second to repost somebody else on TikTok or Instagram that's missing. Because if it was you, you would want somebody to take 1 second out of your day to repost that you're missing or need help or family is looking for you. Think of it that way. Think of it as being you or a loved one, because they are someone's loved one. And it's important that we keep being a voice for them when they can't be one for themselves. So with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in 2025 to True Crime with Tiff Klein. 2026 is already off to a great start. I'm looking forward to so many true crime things this year, possibly the Hamptons in April at the True Crime and Wine event. I'm not positive yet. I'm definitely going to be at CrimeCon in Vegas, and maybe the October True Crime Festival in Boston. It's not CrimeCon, but it's a true crime event that they've been posting about. So I've always wanted to go to Boston. It's only 4 hours away. We'll see, but 100% I'll be at CrimeCon, and it's pretty cool. I can't wait. I hope 2027 is in New Orleans, because that's my dream. And oh God, I'm just praying, because I said I'm getting there before the end of 2027. Well, CrimeCon, listen up, book it in 2027. Again, thank you guys. This is True Crime with Tiff Klein, giving criminals the disrespect they deserve.